Stanford University. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the faculty procession and the university president's party.
Let us be together. We gather this morning, poised between a student's past and a graduate's future. Beyond this valley, the world waits with bated breath for a new generation to rise to the challenges of a beautiful and complex world. Yet right here, right now, we are called to savor this time together as we celebrate and honor our shared journey. Mindful this ending is but a beginning, we affirm our belief that higher education is not a race to be won, not a prize to be had, but rather an ever-unfolding journey of discovery, known in the joy of cultivating lives of passion and purpose. And so, in this moment, call to our mind's eye all those who made today possible, those who encouraged and empowered us to become better versions of ourselves. Renew in us our deeply held values of intellectual inquiry, responsible innovation, and inclusive collaboration. More us in integrity, diversity, respect, and tenacity in our collective commitment to the common good. And grant us the courage and conviction to pursue knowledge and excellence, not simply for ourselves, but for the sake of humanity and the world. And may the fierce dedication and patient perseverance that has brought us to this moment carry us forward, now and forever, to create a world marked by peace, justice, and compassion beyond measure. So may it be. Amen.
Nobody knows who's to go.
Thank you, and thank you, Dean Steinwert. Members of the class of 2019, Stanford faculty and staff, former and current trustees of our university, government officials, distinguished guests, and cherished family members and friends. I thank you for joining us on this very special day to celebrate Stanford's 128th commencement. It's my great honor to warmly welcome all of you. To all those who are receiving degrees today, I offer a very special welcome. Our senior class members. Let's hear a round. Great. And our graduate students. Congratulations to each and every one of you. Today, we celebrate your accomplishments during your time at Stanford, and we look ahead with anticipation that everything you will do next. Now, we gather this weekend in joy and celebration, but as we do, we are also thinking of those in our community who have left us this year, including, tragically, within the last few days. The loss of any member of our Stanford community is a loss to all of us. And so, as we begin this morning's program, I'd like us to take a moment to acknowledge their passing and to reflect on how they've enriched our lives. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now, to the class of 2019, I want to express just how proud we are of all that you've accomplished during your time at Stanford, and of all the hard work that you brought to this stadium this morning. Today, we will award 1,792 bachelor's degrees, 2,389 master's degrees, and 1,038 doctoral degrees. For those students who are receiving bachelor's degrees, 313 will graduate with departmental honors and 301 with university distinction. "106 have satisfied the requirements of more than one major, and 33 are graduating with dual bachelor's degrees. "451 of our seniors completed minors, and 201 will graduate with both a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. Stanford is proud to enroll students from all around the globe. Many of our international students will receive their degrees today as well. – 162 members of our undergraduate class hail from 55 countries, and 79 countries are represented by the 1,077 international students who will receive their master's and doctoral degrees. Now, all the numbers I've cited illustrate the tremendous accomplishments of Stanford's graduates and their potential to have a positive impact on our world. Graduates, during your time at Stanford, our faculty and staff have dedicated themselves to nurturing that potential in each of you, and I want to take this moment to thank them for their ongoing support and encouragement. Your accomplishments are also due, in part, to the dedication, to the loving encouragement, and to the extraordinary support of the family members and friends who have championed each of you in the years you worked toward your Stanford degree. Now, many of those family members and friends are here today in the stands of our stadium, and others are watching this ceremony from around the world via live stream. They include your mothers and your fathers. Happy Father's Day, by the way. Your spouses and children, your siblings, your grandparents, aunts and uncles, your mentors and your peers, people who helped you along the way to Stanford and through your years as Stanford students. And so I'd like to ask the members of the class of 2019, seniors and graduate students, to join now in one of Stanford's treasured commencement traditions. Please rise. Think of all those family members and friends who supported you on this special journey. Turn to your family members and friends if they are in the stands or if they're watching from around the world. And please join me in saying these words to them. Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. To the family members and friends of our Stanford graduates, I say thank you as well from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for entrusting your loved ones to our university in their time here. And thank you for all that you have done to ensure their success. It's now my pleasure to turn the program over to Stanford's Provost, Persis Drell, who will present the winners of the University Awards.
It is now my pleasure and privilege to present the Walter J. Gores Awards for Excellence in Teaching. Recommendations for these prizes and for the Lloyd W. Dinkelspiel Awards and the Kenneth M. Cuthbertson Awards were considered by a committee of faculty, students, and staff. I would like to ask the Gores Award winners to come to the stage at this time. The Gores Awards were established by a bequest from Walter J. Gores, a Stanford alumnus of the class of 1917. Gores was a dedicated teacher who strove for excellence during his 30 years as a distinguished professor at the University of Michigan. The Gores Awards recognize excellent teaching at the undergraduate and graduate level as defined in its broadest sense to include lecturing, discussions, tutoring, advising, and course development. Teaching is a complex art as well as an essential cornerstone of university life. I will call each recipient forward to receive his or her award, and I ask that you hold your applause until I have announced all of this year's award winners. The recipients of the 2019 Walter J. Gores Awards for Excellence in Teaching are Zephyr Frank, Gildred Professor of Latin American Studies, Professor of History, and by courtesy of Iberian and Latin American cultures, and Barbara Feinberg, University Fellow in Undergraduate Education. Daniel George Burnham, PhD candidate in psychology. Iris Malone, PhD candidate in political science. There was a fourth winner of the Walter J. Gores Award who was unable to make it to today's ceremony, Aaron Mordecai, Assistant Professor of Biology. On behalf of the university, I congratulate each of you for this recognition of excellence in your teaching. I would like to ask the Dinkelspiel Award winners to come to the stage at this time. Lloyd Dinkelspiel's service to Stanford included the presidency of the Board of Trustees in the 1950s and was characterized by an enduring concern for the quality of undergraduate education at this university. Shortly after he died in 1959, a memorial fund was established to endow the Lloyd W. Dinkelspiel Awards for distinctive contributions to undergraduate education. The recipients of the 2019 Lloyd W. Dinkelspiel Award for distinctive contributions to undergraduate education are James Campbell, Edgar E. Robinson Professor in United States History, Cynthia Lee, Lecturer in Computer Science, and Christopher Laboa, MS Candidate in Epidemiology and BS Candidate with honors in Human Biology. On behalf of the university, I congratulate you for this significant recognition of your contributions to undergraduate education. The Gores and Dinkelspiel Awards are joined by a third, the Kenneth M. Cuthbertson Award for exceptional service to Stanford University. I would like to ask the Cuthbertson Award winner to come to the stage at this time. The award was established in 1981 to honor the late Kenneth Cuthbertson, one of the early architects of Stanford's long-range financial planning and development programs. The sole criterion of the Cuthbertson Award is the quality of the contribution that the recipient has made to Stanford. This is a fitting, lasting legacy to an individual who cared deeply about the university and its values, and whose contributions continue to benefit each and every one of us today. The recipients of the 2019 Kenneth M. Cuthbertson Award for exceptional contributions to Stanford University are Patricia J. Gumport, Vice Provost for Graduate Education and Postdoctoral Affairs and Professor of Education. There was a second winner of the Cuthbertson Award who was unable to attend today's ceremony, Maggie Burgett, Project Executive, Land, Buildings, and Real Estate. On behalf of the university, I congratulate both winners for this distinguished recognition of their exceptional service to Stanford.
Well, thank you, Provost Drell. It's one of my great honors as Stanford's president to address our graduating class on Commencement Day. Class of 2019, your years at Stanford have been a time of intellectual exploration, remarkable accomplishment, and extraordinary hard work and dedication. Today, we honor everything that you have achieved during your time at Stanford, and we celebrate you as you embark on the next stage of your journey. Today's ceremony marks the conclusion of your time as Stanford students, but I have great hope that here at Stanford, you've acquired the tools and the skills to remain learners for life. And even as you leave our campus behind, you will forever remain a cherished part of our Stanford family. This is my third commencement as Stanford's president. Since I returned to Stanford 3 years ago, I've been reflecting on the fact that Jane and Leland Stanford founded this university with a specific purpose, namely, to promote the public welfare by exercising an influence on behalf of humanity. They wanted Stanford's faculty, students, and staff to pursue knowledge and excellence, not just as ends in themselves, but for the sake of humanity and the world. I've often wondered what motivated the Stanfords to place this greater purpose at the heart of our university. I think I got a clue recently when, in January, I visited the Stanford Family Collection at the Cantor Arts Center. Jane and Leland Stanford were some of the most influential citizens of California in the late 19th century, and the Cantor holds a number of artifacts relating to their lives. The collection also includes some childhood journals that belong to their son, Leland Stanford Jr. Reading these journals was, to me, a revelation. They're a record of Leland Jr.'s childhood studies and interests, from arithmetic practice to sketches and photography. But what truly leaps from the pages is Leland Jr.'s extraordinary curiosity. He was learning and absorbing everything he could about the world. Though he was just in his early teens, he had ambitions in anthropology and history and art, and he was fascinated by other cultures. He spent his time studying and reflecting on contemporary and historical objects, from fossils to armor, to buildings and monuments, to the ruins of ancient temples. Reading his journals, it was clear to me that from a very young age, Leland Jr. was focused and working hard toward a life of intention and purpose. And it dawned on me that his drive to give his life greater purpose must have been nurtured and encouraged by his parents, for whom it must have been a foundational value even before the tragedy that was about to befall them. Because, as you know, Leland Jr.'s life was cut short when he fell ill from typhoid fever while traveling in Europe. He died when he was just 15 years old. In the depths of their grief, when it would have been entirely understandable for the Stanfords to look inward, they instead looked outward. They chose to use their platform to ensure not just that their son would be remembered, but that a new university built in his name, would exist to benefit others. Since the Stanfords didn't have the opportunity to give their son the future he had envisioned, they devoted themselves to creating a university that would produce both fundamental knowledge and apply that knowledge to tackle real-world problems, but that would also help countless other students build their own platforms and launch their own lives of purpose. As Stanford graduates, you have built and earned your platform. Your education and experiences here will give you opportunities to pursue your interests and follow your own unique path. Of course, you have worked tremendously hard to achieve this success, and I know it hasn't always been easy. Each of you has had to overcome obstacles to get to where you are today. And all of that hard work, the midnight coffee breaks, the final exams, the hours spent in the library or the studio or the laboratory, have brought you here today. And you haven't stopped there. You've thrown yourself into activities and experience here, whether sports or the arts, student government or the student newspaper, service work, sketch comedy, the band, or or especially as I've seen in the last week, fountain hopping. These experiences have enriched your lives, and they too have brought you to where you are today. You have a world of opportunity in front of you, and it is for you to decide what to do with this platform that you have worked so hard to earn. No matter what field you enter after graduation, you have the opportunity to use your gifts to make a difference in the world. This can feel daunting at the outset of your post-Stanford life. Some of you may know exactly what contribution you want to make in the world, while others may still be searching for your way to make an impact. But whatever you do, whatever profession you pursue or journey you take, whether you become a teacher or a community leader, a lawyer or a physician, an engineer or an artist or a scholar or a scientist, or a mother or father, a caregiver to the next generation. Whatever you make of your life and the opportunities before you, I hope you will use your gifts to change the world for the better. Having a platform also comes with a responsibility. It requires an ongoing process of self-examination and a continual return to your guiding values. You may find at times that the path forward is unclear, or you may realize, in hindsight, that you've made missteps along the way. All of us make mistakes. I certainly do. Just ask my wife and kids. All of our lives require self-examination. In those moments, it is important to return to our foundational values to guide us forward. For myself, I always return to the founding purpose of this university, that we are here to generate excellence for the sake of all humanity. That idea serves as Stanford's North Star. And that brings me to today's commencement speaker, Tim Cook. Tim is a brilliant example of someone who has used his platform to achieve a greater impact beyond his own company. He is a clear voice for leading with vision and values to address the challenges and responsibilities that confront society today. A native of Alabama, Tim earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Engineering from Auburn University and then an MBA from Duke University. Tim joined Apple in 1998 and became the company's chief operating officer in 2005. He was named CEO in August 2011. Now, Apple is a large organization with more than 100,000 employees worldwide, and it would certainly be understandable if Tim focused all of his attention on the company and its operations. but instead, he has used his position also to speak out about issues related to privacy and to address the ethical and societal implications of the technology revolution that he is helping to lead. Tim is also known as a strong advocate for environmental issues, broader educational access, racial equity, and for the rights of the LGBTQ community. He has been vocal in his belief that corporations should do their part to make the world a better place. In May, Tim was once again named to Fortune's annual list of the world's 50 greatest leaders. He was named Person of the Year by the Financial Times in 2014, and he's been honored with the museum's Free Speech Award for using his spotlight to take a public stand on important social issues. In 2018, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference presented Tim with its Keeper of the Dream Award for Human Rights during its observation of the 50th anniversary of the death of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Tim is truly using his influence to focus beyond his own company's operations and to address the broader societal context. And I hope that you, class of 2019, will embrace his example. Wherever your own path takes you, you will have opportunities to use your platform to address the challenges of our time and to make your corner of the world a little brighter. As Tim Cook has, as the Stanfords did, I hope you will let your values guide you on your journey to living a life of purpose and a life of impact. Please join me in welcoming Tim Cook.
Thank you, thank you. Good morning, class of 2019. Thank you, President Tessier-Lavigne, for that very generous introduction. I'll do my best to earn it. Before I begin, I want to recognize everyone whose hard work made this celebration possible, including the groundskeepers, ushers, volunteers, and crew. Thank you. I am deeply honored and frankly a little astonished to be invited to join you for this most meaningful of occasions. Graduates, this is your day, but you didn't get here alone. Family and friends, teachers, mentors, loved ones, and of course your parents all work together to make you possible, and they share your joy today. Here on Father's Day, let's give the dads in particular a round of applause. Stanford is near to my heart, not least because I live just a mile and a half from here. Of course, if my accent hasn't given it away, for the first part of my life, I had to admire this place from a distance. I went to school on the other side of the country at Auburn University in the heart of landlocked eastern Alabama. You may not know this, but I was on the sailing team all 4 years. It wasn't easy. Back then, the closest marina was a 3-hour drive. For practice, most of the time, we had to wait for a heavy rainstorm to flood the football field. And tying knots is hard. Who knew? Yet somehow, against all odds, we managed to beat Stanford every time. We must have gotten lucky with the win. Kidding aside, I know the real reason I'm here, and I don't take it lightly. Stanford and Silicon Valley's roots are woven together. We're part of the same ecosystem. It was true when Steve stood on the stage 14 years ago. It's true today, and presumably, it'll be true for a while longer still. The past few decades have lifted us together. But today, we gather at a moment that demands some reflection. Fueled by caffeine and code, optimism and idealism, conviction and creativity, generations of Stanford graduates and dropouts have used technology to remake our society. But I think you would agree that lately, the results haven't been neat or straightforward. In just the 4 years that you've been here at the farm, things feel like they've taken a sharp turn. Crisis has tempered optimism. Consequences have challenged idealism. And reality has shaken blind faith. And yet we are still drawn here, for good reason. Big dreams live here, as do the genius and passion to make them real. In an age of cynicism, this place still believes that the human capacity to solve problems is boundless. But so it seems is our potential to create them. That's what I'm interested in talking about today. Because if I've learned one thing, it's that technology doesn't change who we are, it magnifies who we are, the good and the bad. Our problems in technology, in politics, wherever, are human problems. From the Garden of Eden to today, it's our humanity that got us into this mess, and it's our humanity that's going to have to get us out. First things first, here's a plain fact. Silicon Valley is responsible for some of the most revolutionary inventions in modern history. From the first oscillator built in the Hewlett-Packard garage, to the iPhones that I know you're holding in your hands. Social media, shareable videos, snaps and stories that connect half the people on Earth. They all trace their roots to Stanford's backyard. But lately, it seems, this industry is becoming better known for a less noble innovation. The belief that you can claim credit without accepting responsibility. We see it every day now with every data breach, every privacy violation, every blind eye turned to hate speech. Fake news poisoning our national conversation. The false miracles in exchange for a single drop of your blood. Too many seem to think that good intentions excuse away harmful outcomes. But whether you like it or not, what you build and what you create define who you are. It feels a bit crazy that anyone should have to say this. But if you've built a chaos factory, you can't dodge responsibility for the chaos. Taking responsibility means having the courage to think things through. And there are few areas where this is more important than privacy. If we accept as normal and unavoidable that everything in our lives can be aggregated, sold, or even leaked in the event of a hack, then we lose so much more than data. We lose the freedom to be human. Think about what's at stake. Everything you write, everything you say, every topic of curiosity, every stray thought, every impulsive purchase, every moment of frustration or weakness, every gripe or complaint, every secret shared in confidence. In a world without digital privacy, even if you have done nothing wrong other than think differently, you begin to censor yourself. Not entirely at first, just a little, bit by bit. To risk less, to hope less, to imagine less, to dare less, to create less, to try less, to talk less, to think less. The chilling effect of digital surveillance is profound, and it touches everything. What a small, unimaginative world we would end up with. Not entirely at first, just a little, bit by bit. Ironically, it's the kind of environment that would have stopped Silicon Valley before it had ever gotten started. We deserve better. You deserve better. If we believe that freedom means an environment where great ideas can take root, where they can grow and be nurtured without fear of irrational restrictions or burdens, then it's our duty to change course. Because your generation ought to have the same freedom to shape the future as the generation that came before. Graduates, at the very least, learn from these mistakes. If you want to take credit, first, learn to take responsibility. Now, a lot of you, the vast majority, won't find yourselves in tech at all. That's as it should be. We need your minds at work far and wide because our challenges are great and they can't be solved by any single industry. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, I know you will be ambitious. You wouldn't be here today if you weren't. Match that ambition with humility, a humility of purpose. That doesn't mean being tamer, being smaller, being less in what you do. It's the opposite. It's about serving something greater. The author Madeleine L'Engle wrote, "Humility is throwing oneself away in complete concentration on something or someone else." In other words, whatever you do with your life, be a builder. You don't have to start from scratch to build something monumental. And conversely, the best founders, the ones whose creations last and whose reputations grow rather than shrink with passing time, they spend most of their time building piece by piece. Builders are comfortable in the belief that their life's work will one day be bigger than them, bigger than any one person. They're mindful that its effects will span generations. That's not an accident. In a way, it's the whole point. In a few days, we will mark the 50th anniversary of the riots at Stonewall. When the patrons of the Stonewall Inn showed up that night, people of all races, gay and transgender, young and old, they had no idea what history had in store for them. It would have seemed foolish to dream it. When the door was busted open by police, it was not the knock of opportunity or the call of destiny. It was just another instance of the world telling them that they ought to feel worthless for being different. But the group gathered there felt something strengthen in them, a conviction that they deserved something better than the shadows and better than oblivion. And that if it wasn't going to be given, then they were going to have to build it themselves. I was 8 years old and 1,000 miles away when Stonewall happened. There were no news alerts, no way for photos to go viral, no mechanism for a kid on the Gulf Coast to hear these unlikely heroes tell their stories. Greenwich Village may as well have been a different planet, though I can tell you that the slurs and hatreds were the same. What I would not know for a long time was what I owed to a group of people I never knew in a place I'd never been. Yet I will never stop being grateful for what they had the courage to build. Graduates, being a builder is about believing that you cannot possibly be the greatest cause on this earth because you aren't built to last. It's about making peace with the fact that you won't be here for the end of the story. That brings me to my last bit of advice. 14 years ago, Steve stood on this stage and told your predecessors, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Here's my corollary. Your mentors may leave you prepared, but they can't leave you ready. When Steve got sick, I had hardwired my thinking to the belief that he would get better. I not only thought he would hold on, I was convinced down to my core that he'd still be guiding Apple long after I, myself, was gone. Then one day, he called me over to his house and told me that it wasn't going to be that way. Even then, I was convinced he would stay on as chairman, that he would step back from the day-to-day but always be there as a sounding board. But there was no reason to believe that. I never should have thought it. The facts were all there. And when he was gone, truly gone, I learned the real, visceral difference between preparation and readiness. It was the loneliest I've ever felt in my life, by an order of magnitude. It was one of those moments where you can be surrounded by people, yet you don't really see, hear, or feel them. But I could sense their expectations. When the dust settled, all I knew was that I was going to have to be the best version of myself that I could be. I knew that if you got out of bed every morning and set your watch by what other people expect or demand, it'd drive you crazy. So what was true then is true now. Don't waste your time living someone else's life. Don't try to emulate the people who came before you to the exclusion of everything else, contorting into a shape that doesn't fit. It takes too much mental effort that should be dedicated to creating and building. You'll waste precious time trying to rewire your every thought, and in the meantime, you won't be fooling anybody. Graduates, the fact is, when your time comes, and it will, you'll never be ready. But you're not supposed to be. Find the hope in the unexpected. Find the courage in the challenge. Find your vision on the solitary road. Don't get distracted. There are too many people who want credit without responsibility. Too many who show up for the ribbon cutting without building anything worth a damn. Be different. Leave something worthy. And always remember that you can't take it with you. You're going to have to pass it on. Thank you very much, and congratulations to the class of 2019.
Well, thank you so much, Tim, for those powerful words. We really appreciate so much you being here and part of this celebration today. And now, will the Provost please present the candidates for degrees?
Mr. President, first, I have the honor to recognize all those who have completed the requirements for master's and doctoral degrees. They will be presented to you by the deans of their schools.
Will the candidates from the School of Engineering please stand? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Science, Engineer, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Whittam. By the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges.
Will the graduates from the School of Engineering please be seated?
Will the candidates from the School of Law please stand? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Doctor of Jurisprudence, Master of the Science of Law, Doctor of the Science of Law, and Master of Laws.
Well, thank you, Dean Martinez, and may I welcome you to your first commencement as Dean of the School of Law. Graduates, by the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges.
Will the graduates from the School of Law please be seated?
Will the candidates from the Graduate School of Education please stand? President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Arts and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Schwartz. Graduates, by the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges.
From the Graduate School of Education, please be seated.
Will the candidates from the School of Humanities and Sciences please stand? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degree of Master of Arts, Master of Liberal Arts, Master of Science, Master of Fine Arts, Doctor of Musical Arts, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank Thank you, Dean Satz, and may I welcome you at your first commencement as Dean of the School of Humanities and Sciences. Graduates, by the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges.
Will the graduates from the School of Humanities and Sciences please be seated?
Will the candidates from the School of Earth, Energy, and Environmental Sciences please stand? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Arts, Master of Science, Engineer, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Graham. Graduates, by the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges.
Will the graduates from the School of Earth, Energy, and Environmental Sciences please be seated?
Will the candidates from the Graduate School of Business please stand? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degrees of Master of Arts in Business Research, Master of Science in Management, Master of Business Administration, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Levin, and may I congratulate you on your popularity. Graduates, by the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges.
Will the graduates of the Graduate School of Business please be seated?
Will the candidates from the School of Medicine please stand? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the degree of Master of Arts, Master of Science, Doctor of Medicine, and Doctor of Philosophy.
Thank you, Dean Minor. Graduates, by the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon you the degrees for which you have been presented and to admit you to their rights, responsibilities, and privileges.
Will the graduates from the School of Medicine please be seated?
Well, Mr. President, have we forgotten anyone?
I don't think so, Provost Drell. Oh, wait, the undergraduate degrees.
Of course. That's right. Now, Mr. President, I have the honor to recognize all those who have completed the requirements for undergraduate degrees. Will the recipients of the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Arts and Science please stand? Mr. President, I present to you those who have completed the requirements for the Bachelor of Arts and the Bachelor of Science degrees and the Bachelor of Arts and Science degree.
Okay. Graduates, by the authority vested in me by the faculty and trustees of this university, I am delighted to confer publicly upon each of you the bachelor degree and admit you to its rights, responsibilities, and privileges. Congratulations.
Will the graduates please be seated?
Well, thank you, Provost Drell. Again, to the members of the class of 2019, on behalf of Stanford University, congratulations to you on this very special day. You have graduated from the family of Stanford students, and you have joined the family of Stanford alumni. From this day forward, wherever you go in the world, whatever path you explore, and whatever contribution you seek to make, you will remain forever cardinal and forever a part of the Stanford community. And so in closing, as you start a new journey as graduates of Stanford, I hope you will remember these words. Let today serve as a beginning and not an ending. Follow your talents, your interests, and your foundational values to discover your own unique path to living a life of purpose. And most importantly, embrace the opportunities ahead of you and use the platform you've earned to change the world for the better. Congratulations, class of 2019.
I invite you to stand for the benediction. Proud graduates, at this moment of celebration and contemplation, of fulfillment and promise, you are poised to journey beyond the farm. Many of our sacred traditions imagine the landscape beyond the one we know. In Genesis, Jacob dreamt of a ladder. Angels or messengers were ascending and descending, going forth and returning, rising and falling. Although Jacob took his steps into the unknown by himself, in his dreams he was not alone. He was accompanied by angels, by messengers who helped him to know what to strive for and how to cushion a fall. On this day of pride seasoned with sadness, on this day of commencement and farewell, so many here, friends, teachers, mentors, classmates, who have cheered achievements and dried tears, are like Jacob's angels, witnessing one another's deepest aspirations and agonizing disappointments, safeguarding one another's treasured hopes and carefully tended dreams. We become a community across time and space, filled with the genesis of dreams, filled with friends, filled with hope for the future. Each one here today is a messenger of vision, an angel of dreams, imagining future possibilities for one another and witnessing their fulfillment. Graduates, as you venture forth beyond the farm, may your waking hours be filled with the realization of those dreams. May we who have witnessed your aspirations be present at their fruition. Tzet l'shalom. Go in peace. Go enveloped by shared dreams. Tzet l'shalom. Go forth in wholeness and in peace. Amen.
For more, please visit us at stanford.edu.